Hey guys, Ash here coming at you today, Watcher of Realms. Welcome to the video, guys. I'm glad to have you all here. Today we have a guide on Pyros. We have an amazing event coming up tomorrow. I'm not even going to edit this video. I just want to get it out there for you guys. Pyros, one of the most sought after, if not the most sought after heroes in the game. Certainly when we talk about epic heroes, Dolores, I don't know, Baron, either way, he's up there because he's a game changer for almost every account in the game. He's one of the Infernal Lords who really can exponentially increase your guild boss damage output. Guild boss, of course, especially as you progress, has some of the best rewards inside this game, and he can help so many players out there, okay? Today, I'm going to show you the correct way to build him to get the most utility out of him in your guild boss squad. Now, I don't want to limit him just to guild boss. I actually see some debate going around the community right now. Is he totally trash in every area outside of guild boss? And the answer, in my opinion, is it depends, right? It depends on where you are in the game, right? If you just pick up a Pyros and he's one of your only maybe, 2-3 mages, maybe just started playing this game. I know there's a lot of beginners who watch my content as well, kind of started the game alongside me covering it. He can help you out in many different areas, He's a pretty competent mage. He's certainly not highest when it comes to DPS, but he's a great debuffer and he can deal some damage vis-a-vis his ultimate as well. So I think that he is capable in other areas for early game and going into mid-game accounts, but of course where he really shines is guild boss, and that's going to be the focus of today's video. So a shard summoning, again, event starting on the 17th, running through the 5th, but this, even if you're watching in the future, this will help you out in terms of how to build and really get the most out of your Pyros. That's the most important here. Now, you guys know I have a pretty early to mid-game account here, right? So I cannot execute these crazy 50 million blood runs that you see out there on YouTube, but I would recommend if you are a late game player and you want to execute one of these with sick gear, you can clear the end level gear raids, right? To get your hands on the good stuff. Well, I can recommend a video for you guys. I'll link it. It's War Guides. This guy's really, really smart. But again, I just don't have the gear to pull it off. So fair warning. However, I am going to show you all the mechanics that you guys need to know. And I'll tell you why I can't pull it off. That way, if you're not pulling the damage that you see on some of these content creators, at least you'll know what you need to shoot for and why it's not working. I feel like that's important to cover. Anyway, here he is. It's Pyros. What does this dude do? Really quickly, let's go over his kit. He's a Lord, an Infernal Lord at that. If you don't have Twin Fiend, you got Pyros now. It's a game changer. Get excited on this dude. His Lord skill, increase faction allies' basic attributes by 10%. When he casts the destruction command, that's his ultimate, all faction allies will gain penetration increase for 10 seconds. That's going to ignore 30% of defense and magic resistance, okay? On his ultimate, it is destruction command. When activated, he increases damage by 100% for 15 seconds, and he marks the target with the highest HP, aka the guild boss. So he's dealing some damage per second. The mark lasts for 10 seconds. It explodes at the end. It deals AoE damage. But when he's deployed as a Lord, which he's always going to be your Lord, what he's going to do is gain Focus Fire. Focus Fire is going to take everybody in his Lord row on your deployment, right? All the other Infernal heroes on your team. And it's going to stop them from doing damage and channel all their damage into this uber strong attack called Focus Fire into his Pyros' ultimate. Now, Pyros executes this Focus Fire attack halfway through his ultimate, not at the end, and that plays an important role when it comes to timing, okay? That can stack up, depending on how many Infernals you have on your team, to 700% extra damage. It goes up exponentially for each Infernal hero who is joining in the Focus Fire attack. On his basic, 110 damage, to one enemy. And then his Delusional Gaze. This is his debuffs, right? He's got the vulnerability to physical damage and magic damage by 20% on targets marked with Destruction Command. Deals 200% additional AoE damage when the mark explodes, okay? You can book this up as well, which is really, really good. Now, here's the bummer. I'm just going to be real with you guys. Reason number one that you might not be scoring these crazy, and incredibly impressive numbers that you see on YouTube or, on Reddit, whatever you see them, is because you don't have them awakened, okay? I do not. I have no awakening on my Pyros right now. So it's kind of a bummer. Awakening 1 is great. During Destructive Command, increases crit rate by 20%. It's a nice to have, but it's not a game changer. Even Awaken 2, crit damage plus 10%, it's not going to be that important. It's really negligible. So A3 is where it's at. this is where you can really just, change things in terms of the damage you're able to do with the Pyros squad, okay? So Delusional Gaze on Awaken 3 lasts 5 more seconds if the target is still alive after the end of Destruction command. Obviously, Guild Boss is always going to still be alive after the end of it. So that 5 extra seconds, keep in mind, Delusional Gaze is the passive. Those are all the debuffs, right? It's really, really incredibly valuable, right? So that's where the value is. All the way down to A5, he's recovering rage when the target dies. The Guild Boss is not dying. So really A4 and A5 are, again, kind of like A2 and A1. They're not that much of a game changer, but A3 is unbelievably strong, okay? You can really change what you're able to do with this dude. So I love the Nightmare Samsara in terms of the artifact on this dude. We really care a lot about his rage regen because we want to pull off more of those ults, right? Restores 5% rage for every 5 attacks. We also are going to have him super, super fast on the attack speed. So that rage is going to restore just beautiful synergy. You can see, again, I mentioned, I'm a early game, mid game account. At best, I have it level 10. I'm sure a lot of you guys are in the same boats. It's no maxed out level 25 artifacts here, but obviously the higher the level, the better, and more power to you if you do have a maxed out Nightmare Samsara. This would be my #1 recommendation personally, but you guys let me know if you run a different artifact on him. In terms of gear and priorities on this dude, you guys can already see, if you just take a look at the stats here, how I have him geared out. It's all about attack speed, and it's all about rage regen, okay? For Guild Boss specifically. Now, I want to put a big disclaimer, though. This is not the only way to build this hero, okay? You can use him, as I said, in the very early game and the very end game in a different build completely. You can build him still with plenty of attack speed and rage regen, but of course with better gear or worse gear, you can just build him to do damage, right? So in the early game, you might want to build him with 100% crit rate, right? You might not even be using him in Guild Boss. You might have no other Infernal champions either. You might not be using him in Guild Boss. And in that case, attack, percentage, obviously, attack, crit rate, and crit damage are going to be your friends, right? We still want attack speed. It's still good to have. Rage regen is still nice to have as well. But in the end game as well, in the end game where I am not there, we want everything, okay? But in terms of just Guild Boss and using his Lord skills and his ultimate to synergize with an Infernal team and really get extra damage, this is the stat. This is the way that you want to build him. We don't care so much about crit rate, crit damage. It's nice to have. It's not mandatory. So with all that said, we have Whirlwind getting an extra 75 attack speed, a 2-piece here. This is some of my best gear. This speaks to how much I need to farm more gear. I think HP percentage is great to help keep him alive, but really, his survival shouldn't be that big of an issue, really, provided that you have some healing on your squad. But I went with it because that's attack speed and rage regen, okay? Attack speed is going to be a pretty much mandatory on the amulet in terms of the main stat until you're in the end game or, again, in the early game. For most players, look at this. This is, I think, my best rage regen piece right here. So this is a really, really beautiful amulet for Pyros. Probably the best in my entire collection. And then rage regen is going to be the main stat on our ring. As you can see, I'm looking for attack speed wherever I can find it. So total stats here, we do have it down to 1.2 seconds, which is ideal in terms of his attack interval. We have, let's see, we have his rage regen, what you guys can see, plus 104%. All right, guys, let's go ahead and talk about how we are playing this dude, okay? So let's go right into Guild Boss. Let's go in, and this is the squad that we have put together here. Now, I have Zilitu, right? So you can run him. Obviously, there's a lot of good Infernal champions out there in the game, right? Zilitu is like his #1 companion. She can pull some just nasty, sick numbers. But the whole idea is, what we really want to do is get Zilitu, or excuse me, get Pyros to ult 2 times during one Zilitu ultimate. That's how you can pull some insane numbers, because then you break the shield and then you deal tons of damage afterwards as well, because 2 ultimates of Pyros go off all during the time of only 1 ultimate on Zilitu. The reason that we can pull this off is because Zilitu's ultimate is long. It's 35 seconds when you have it fully booked up. I don't have any legendary, and I really need that extra 5 seconds. From 30 or 25 with no books into it, to 35, it doesn't sound like much. It's a massive difference, especially when we want to pull off 2 ultimates of Pyros in the meantime. So I can't do it. I can just barely do it, but it's not enough time to fully charge up, because keep in mind, we want Pyros' focus fire is going to shoot off halfway through his ultimate, as we said earlier, right? Hopefully this makes sense to you guys. But again, I wanted to point out areas, because I know a lot of you guys in the comments, I know you said this before, is that like, why is my team not doing that? So I want to be transparent about like everything, gear and everything required. All right, guys, so going into Clan Boss, I changed where I am on the screen so you guys can see all the ultimates nice and clear here, because timing is very important. Furthermore, I would advise you guys on Guild Boss, I really love toggling the camera angle, especially when learning a new team. After you kind of have everything set up, it's like whatever. But I like toggling it like this. I find it easier to just kind of monitor all of your heroes, especially their ultimates and stuff like that. Before we actually do a proper battle, I want to talk about timing. So all I'm going to do here is put Pyros on the, you know what? I think it'd actually be a little bit easier if we put him on the other side so you guys can see. Obviously, side and positioning doesn't really matter all that much. We just want to get him on. So we'll put him over here. We'll put Dolores over here. We'll put a Rage Booster, and we'll put Zilitu. Make sure you put Zilitu in front. She does 20% more damage when she's blocking, so we want to have her in front. Now, timing is very important here, right? I'm going to try to spell this out as clearly as possible for you guys, right? So check it out. We're going to go ahead and use Pyros as ultimate, right? Now check this out. We only have, see where my cursor is right now, guys? We only have till about here to use our other heroes' ultimates. We only have a small window, or she'll be locked out. Let me purposely lock myself out so I can show you what a fail would look like. Okay, we wait till around now, then we pop it? No, we're locked out. Like I said, we have to use other heroes' ultimates within this short window, okay? So that's very important to understand. There's also an animation cue when he drops his staff, Pyros. So I just like looking at his ultimate bar. I find it a little bit easier that way. That's the first thing and probably the most important that you need to understand about Pyros, okay? So now you know how to do it. Let me show you a successful one so you know what that looks like as well. And again, I apologize if I'm being too basic here for some of you guys, but I feel like it's important to cover the fundamentals because some of you might be picking up Pyros for the very first time, right? So here's a proper ultimate usage, right? So we're going to pop it right now. And again, we do want to wait as long as possible. We just can't wait too long. So now we actually executed, the double ultimate. Now, like I said earlier, guys, unfortunately, I don't have the gear right now, or excuse me, I don't have Zilitu fully booked. So even with Elowin and everything like that on the team, I'm not able to get 2 full ults in there, right? So this time when we pop his ult, though, I do want, you can see how close it is, guys? See how close it is? I pop it right away. We get a tiny bit, but not much. So a couple quick things. Number one is, why is Zilitu even so good with Pyros, right? I feel like maybe I'm stating the obvious again, but Zilitu has this passive where the longer she doesn't do damage, she just charges up and becomes that much stronger and does that much more damage, right? So she's not doing damage, remember, during the focus fire. She's channeling all that into Pyros. So that exponentially basically snowballs her damage, and that's why she's so potent with this combo. So now that this time, guys, I want you to actually watch the animations here, and you'll see right when it gets to the bottom here, that's when he actually fires. So you guys can check that out right now. I'll just throw another, and you can see right now, boom, did you see? I mean, it didn't do a lot of damage because the shield is up, right? But you guys now you understand at least all the mechanics of Pyros. It's not that confusing, but again, it's also not super intuitive, At least I didn't find it that way. So now we'll do like a proper battle here. Now, the reason it's so important that I can't get the double ultimate off is because we're just missing, we're losing literally thousands of blood damage by not popping it twice, being able to pop it twice and getting all that Zilitu damage, But we'll get there soon enough, it won't be that long. I only have a few books left, and you guys will eventually get there as well. But either way, Pyros, despite all that, Pyros is still a really good guild boss. Like, I have a better score than I did before I had Pyros. Let's put it that way, Even with not being able to execute all the super fancy, crazy numbers that you can see out there in other areas. Let's go ahead and put the whole team down. I'm just going to put kind of whoever down, and then we'll put Setrum in the back. Setrum is not the perfect partner, so to speak, because did I fail? I failed myself. How's that? How's that for you guys? I waited too long. Setrum doesn't synergize beautifully with Pyros, but you still want to run him because you still get the Lord bonus, and he's still an absolute monster when it comes to Guild Boss. So I apologize, guys. I could have just cut that, but whatever. It happens. At least I'm really proving my point, right? At the end of the day. Let's do this. Let's do this. Let's do this. Okay, we got the whole squad here. We're back in business. I popped it a little bit early there, right? So now we'll actually be patient and wait. Usually around like 4 minutes and 30, 25 seconds, I think, around that time period. This time we get it in. I don't want to pop Hex right away here. I actually want to benefit from the second ult, right? And get some extra damage. Now, there's some, I did a lot of reading on this because, there's a lot to these strategies, so to speak. So I did a lot of reading in terms of what other people advise out there. And there's two schools of thought on Setrum. Some people say you should activate his ult right before the shield or right before Pyros, and some say right after. And I've had kind of mixed results myself. So you guys, if you have any strong opinions on that, go ahead and let me know. Here comes a destructive spit. So we're going to go in with Dolores and Hex. Hex's ultimate lasts for so much longer than Pyros's that it's okay if you pop that ahead. Or any other hero for that matter, right? Whose ultimate lasts for a lot longer than his does. It's not going to be super, super important. Just make sure that we're getting all of that until the halfway point. And you guys should have seen a jump in damage. Obviously, if I had the double ult, we would have probably been around like 4K, at this point, right? So Dragon's going to be promoted. Obviously, knowing all of your times are going to be, super important as well in terms of when the shield goes up and stuff like that. I have a basic Guild Boss guide out there. To be totally honest with you guys, I'm not like super thrilled with that guide because, man, I mean, you learn so, you guys, you know how it is. You learn so much. Not all the information in that video is right, but like I was pulling like 3K blood and being like, there you go, guys. Those are the tips, But hey, you're limited by your heroes and your gear too, right? Okay, so let's go back in here. Let's pop Setrum right now. And then we're just going to wait for a moment. We're going to pop everybody kind of together. And let's get a heal down here. Obviously, make sure everybody's nice and topped off. Let's go ahead and right around meteor impact is when we can start popping here. So let's go. Let's do Hex this time. I was late on Hex again, man. I'm really showing you guys, I'm really giving you guys a show. It really stinks. You can see that just popped the shield immediately, right? You can still see, and we're able to still benefit from Dolores and Hex here, so it really wasn't the end of the world. But you saw that shield went from like here to nothing, and that's thanks to Pyros, right? So everything's looking pretty good here on the squad. We're about, halfway in or so. And let's go ahead and use her. Do this. Dragon's about to be promoted. Get in there. And now we can wait for the last destructive spit as well. And we're looking pretty good here, right? I feel pretty good about it. Just keep everybody healed. And let's go in. Let's go ahead and, let's try to get it in right now. See if we can do this. Now, I could have waited for, can I get him in? No. Yeah, I can. All right, let's use Dolores too. And we should be able to bust the shield here and do some pretty significant damage, right? Let's see. Let's try to get him to go again real quick. Here comes the last shield. And let's pop him right now. There we go. See, Setrum's going to be locked out. Setrum's kind of a pain when it comes to his lockouts. But we break that last shield, no problem. There goes Setrum. We're good. And we're pretty much good to just do all-out damage from here on out, right? So hopefully that made sense in terms of, breaking down the timing on everything. Obviously, the longer you go, the more you'll kind of learn along the way, the better gear you get. Well, you guys know the drill, right? So let's go ahead and do this. Let's do this. Let's get Hex in. Again, late on Hex. You really, you know, do as I say, not as I do. Now we can pop him. And again, pretty decent damage, but nothing like the numbers that you can pull off if you can start really synergizing with the Zilitu, right? But either way, guys, I think you're going to be absolutely, all of you guys who get your hands on this dude, you know, you really need an Infernal team or some Infernal champions, obviously, to take advantage of this, right? So that's like one downside, I would say, to this entire strategy, right? Is you need the right heroes, but you don't have to have Zilitu either, right? We talked about Hex, Setrum, Zealous. There's quite a few, you know, that are pretty dang good guild boss champions. Sorry, you guys can tell I am absolutely brilliant at playing and talking at the same time. So there we go, guys. Hopefully, again, you've enjoyed this guide, man. He is an absolute game changer. And even if you don't have, you know, all these Infernal, you know, heroes or whatever right now, eventually you'll get them, right? And Pyros will be massive for your account. So, guys, thank you so much for watching. And as always, take care, guys.